Hello, this is Marlene Byrne with the League of Women Voters of Portland, and you are watching Video Voters Guide. We are in the studios of MetroEast to talk with candidates running in the November 2018 general election. We have invited all candidates who filed for this race. There are many reasons during this busy campaign season for candidates being able to accept or unable to appear. With me today is Paul Wilcox, running for Troutdale City Council Position 5, who was able to accept our invitation. We are sorry the other candidates in this race, Nick Moon and Deb Rutker, have been unable to accept our invitation. We urge voters to visit the League of Women Voters website and to use the League's vote411.org site for comprehensive coverage, where candidates may also choose to include more information and include their own YouTube videos. And now for some questions. For the Troutdale City Council Position 5. What specifically would you do to improve cooperation, collaboration, and integrity in the City Council?
Okay. First, I want to thank the women voters for providing this service. I know you've sponsored debates in the past, but since we have so few candidates for Troutdale City Council this year, probably wouldn't be worth the trouble. As far as your question, I had that question presented to me earlier in a written format, and I did respond. That's difficult to address. The last part, the word integrity in particular, I think integrity, you either have it or you don't, so I don't know how to encourage that. As far as collaboration and cooperation, I'd like to use an example of how, I don't know if this is directly what you're asking for, but an example of how decisions are made and implemented from what I've seen in the Troutdale City Council. They had a case a couple years back, so it's not the entire current council that was involved, but they had a case before them presented by Public Works where they were trying to do away with what was referred to as the rate cap on the storm sewer rates. And this went back probably 20 plus years because nobody on the council knew how it originated. But what it amounted to was no matter how large a property's impermeable surface area was, such as a parking lot or a roof, the rate cap was set at the equivalent of 6 residential units. So, somebody like FedEx was paying the same runoff rate as 6 homes in the city. And so they went ahead and at first they started out phasing it out. So the cap was like $25, which was 6 homes. Then they doubled it to 50. Well, the problem with that is FedEx's current rate is $4,000 a month. So to get to 4,000 by doubling 25 to 50 to 100 to 200 to 400 would take many years. So eventually they just did away with it entirely. The Public Works guy talked to FedEx and they said they had no problem with it whatsoever. So what I'm getting at, I guess, is I'm not big on incremental changes when something so obvious needs to be corrected. And they had a similar situation with the gas tax. Well, they hired a consultant who had recommended a 5-cent increase for the local fuel tax. And they ended up kind of compromising by phasing it in 1 penny at a time. So the first year was 1 cent, second year 2 cents, second year 3 cents. So they never did get to 5 cents because right now it's capped at 3 cents. So I just question incremental changes when something kind of bold needs to be done.
Okay. All right, and our next question. What ideas do you have for dealing with the homeless population so in need of social services today?
Okay, this was an issue before the councilors 2 years ago. So probably not much has changed, or it's gotten worse. One thing I did want to bring to people's attention is there was a recent ruling that just came out first week of September from the 9th District Court in San Francisco. It was a suit brought against the city of Boise, Idaho, where they had a no camping ordinance, essentially. And the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that, well, they essentially said if there were no shelter beds available, that sleeping outdoors couldn't be cited for. So that's going to have an effect on, all the western states that where that decision applies to. And also, I want to mention we had a local resident come to a council meeting recently, and she was very concerned with the homeless population kind of invading Troutdale neighborhoods. And I've heard reports from the city staff where they're sleeping in abandoned buildings in the urban renewal site, which is in the process of being demolished. People are creating encampments in the green spaces, not so much in the public parks, because public parks can be enforced because they have time restrictions when you can be there. But like I say, that circuit court decision is going to really restrict what cities can do. And I also wanted to mention the range of homeless people, the variety, each needs to be addressed differently. For example, I hear that affordable housing is an issue. I mean, some of these people don't have an income to get into an apartment. So that's just one aspect of it. You've got people with drug and alcohol and mental health issues, and at the other end of the spectrum, there's people that choose that lifestyle. So each individual facet needs to be addressed individually, and I don't see an individual counselor or a city council, being able to address that. They're more qualified people than any of us that haven't been able to fix it.
That's true. Our next question, how would you strengthen the council's working relationships with surrounding jurisdictions such issues as transportation, policing, social services, and the economy?
Okay. There was an interesting issue raised just recently by Mayor Tosterud in Fairview, where he was trying to get the three cities and possibly Gresham also to create a plastic bag ban. The one-use bags like you get in Fred Meyer, Safeway, Albertsons, Target, etc. Apparently Wood Village and Fairview are working together on that. Troutdale doesn't seem to be participating. But that's the sort of thing, a regional approach to something, so that the cities aren't disadvantaging one city over another. You might shop elsewhere so they can get their plastic bags.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for being with us and answering all these questions for us. Okay. And I want to tell you, this is the Video Voters Guide, and thank you for being with us and watching. The general election is Tuesday, November 6th. Be sure to inform yourself of the candidates and the ballot measures and exercise your right to vote.